Hey everyone, welcome back. I hope your day is going well so far. Recently, some pretty alarming findings about the purchasing power of Social Security benefits were discovered, so we'll be talking about those. Additionally, Kamala Harris and the media are now characterizing J.D. Vance and Donald Trump as strange, and some former employees of the Congresswoman are coming out to claim that she was a nightmare to work with, as well as expressing all these negative things about her room. But before we get into the main topic of today's movie, can you kindly assist us in a moment by just leaving a like on this video? Will help the good old YouTube algorithm. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to my channel. Alright, let's get started with today's video's first story. The Senior Citizens League has released fresh information that illustrates the amount of purchasing power that has been lost for all Social Security recipients, regardless of whether they are retired or not. Whether you are eligible for SSDI benefits or SSI benefits. Even going further, the amount of purchasing power that has been lost over the last 10 or so years has been steadily increasing as the expense of living. The Senior Citizens League's research on the buying power of security payments by the TSCCL indicates that the value of seniors' benefits has decreased. This is very troubling because adjustments are clearly not keeping up with inflation. According to the 2024 Loss of Buying Power research, retirement benefits would need to increase by an average of $4,400 annually, or $370 per month, for workers who have retired by 20% since 2010. Value in order for you to, in 2010, the average payout was $1,176 per month. By 2024, if the COLA companies had kept up with inflation, that amount should have been $2,230 per month. But it's only roughly that amount. $1,860 a month, they continue, citing research that shows prices elder customers are paying have surpassed cost of living increases, putting many on the verge of financial hardship. Take the 5.9% COLA rate, for instance. Whereas the raw value was historically higher in 2022, according to the CPI, high inflation actually occurred at a rate 1.1% points higher at 7%. Since he began the 2010s, this pattern has occurred much too frequently. 8 of the last 15. Since their introduction, more than 50% of COLAs have not been able to outperform inflation in the year that they were introduced. 5 of these COLAs have been in the bottom 10 since 1976 in terms of strength compared to inflation. You can observe all the variations between the actual and estimated rates of inflation. For instance, in 2024, the cost living adjustment was 3.2%, while the real rate of inflation was 3.4%. Therefore, we were given 2 percentage points lower than the real inflation rate, but in 2023, the cost living adjustment was 2.2% higher than the actual inflation rate. Still, in the majority of years, the inflation was actually significantly higher than the cost living adjustments were. And they continue by stating that the truth is that COLAs have gradually lost their ability to keep up with inflation. In the 1990s and 2000s, 60% of only 40% of COLAs beat inflation in the 2010s, and only 20% of COLAs out of 5 have done so far in 2020. That was back in 2023, when the number that we went over that was 88.7%. Nevertheless, rapidly increasing prices for high-priced goods are now the main offender. The average iPhone, which is obviously necessary for today's seniors, has seen a price increase of more than 300% since 2010, while the seniors in particular face severe financial strain due to housing costs, which have more than doubled in the average used car price. Since 2010, the average home's real estate tax burden in the U.S. has increased by 89%. Additionally, based on the Bureau of Labor Statistics Price Index for Seniors, which represents how they split their spending, the CPI for the elderly, almost half of the average senior's expenditure goes toward housing, and not. Not only has the cost of housing increased, but other related expenses have also increased. For example, homeowners insurance has increased significantly, and property tax has naturally increased quite a bit. And in reality, if something breaks, you assume that having a property means you simply have to pay the mortgage, right? Well, owing to breakage, plumbing, and electrical problems are expensive. Cash painting a house is an expensive project, and since supplies are now more expensive, purchasing paint has naturally become more costly. Additionally, labor prices have increased, so unless you're prepared to paint your own home, you'll have to hire someone to do it, which will cost more money. Additionally, labor costs have increased, so everything is just getting more expensive. Becoming much more expensive, and you're paying for more than just your mortgage. You also have to pay for the care and maintenance of your home. And as you may know, many people are only one emergency away from one unfortunate side effect of having a lot of debt, is that you may view the top 10 things that have lost the most buying power, ranked by percentage. Regarding price increases from 2010 to 2024, the iPhone has undoubtedly had the largest increase at 31%, followed by the typical used automobile at 217% and bread at $146,700. The typical house price has increased by 88.6%. The yearly real estate taxes increased by 88.6% as well. 81.2% more new cars on average, and 73.1% more ground beef. Moreover, the cost of renting a house has increased by 66.4%. And lastly, transportation services. In addition, Social Security benefits climbed by 58% between 2010 and 2024, or 3.9% annually, whereas the average retiree's cost of goods and services rose by 64.2%. In other words, everything is becoming more expensive. 73%, or 4.9% yearly on average, over the same time span, and for every $100 a retired household spent on groceries in 2010, the household could only purchase around $80 worth today, indicating that prices are rising significantly. That is customary. While it is typical, costs are often only anticipated to increase by about 2% year. Yet, as they indicated there, cola prices have increased by 3.9%. According to the chief actuary of the Social Security Administration, Social Security is on pace, but the real inflation has been far higher. To make matters worse, Social Security's poor financial health portends even bigger cutbacks to buying power in the future. To go insolvent on 2033, and subsequently suffer a 23% reduction in benefits. This implies that individuals who are already retired may see a sharp decline in their level of living, while those who will soon retire may never experience. The Congress must take immediate action to ensure that benefits are not reduced, given the importance of the contributions they made to the program in the event that it does not act, by all the way up to 27%. And in terms of the upcoming president, Congress, and other leaders, it appears like Trump will face Kamala Harris. There have been a variety of attacks recently. For example, Kamala Harris has been criticized in the media for characterizing J.D. Vance as strange for unknown reasons. Vance has come out with a number of statements that he believes are untrue. Our country's leaders ought to resemble these childless cat people, I suppose, those who choose to or are unable to have children for whatever reason, and merely own cats. He stated that they shouldn't be the many people were upset by his remarks, which I believe were not recent, but they suggested that individuals with children should be the ones making future decisions for America. Back when he was seeking the Senate seat in Ohio, perhaps a few years ago, they were attempting to paint Trump and J.D. Vance as being quite strange, while Republicans and Trump is attempting to portray Kamala Harris as, in her own words, somewhat insane. According to this Outkick story, 92% of Harris's employees quit within her first 3 years in office. Years as vice president because of her indolence and rage. But Kay Harris has been actively raising money. I think she's raised over $200 million, and has partnered with many organizations, including Caucasian males in White Harris's White Ladies, Black Individuals for Harris. It's extremely strange if I'm going to be a part of all these different groups, just joining these Zoom meetings and stuff, and trying to generate money. Truthfully, I believe it's a little bit disingenuous since, as we've seen in the P, many people would probably question this if there were more white men supporting Trump. That racist, why don't we just support Trump like regular Americans? I don't understand why there must be so many distinct organizations. Why can't we just be Americans for Trump or Americans for Harris? It's just so strange. Black men for Harris, black women for Trump. And once more, we can see this piece from Bloomberg about how 44,000 black women rallied support for KLA Harris on Sunday night, and this Time magazine article on identity groups rallying for KLA Harris illustrates progress. Once more, I believe that if Donald Trump had been involved at this time, the item would have been published. Publish a piece explaining how this is discriminatory and how they're taking advantage of these various groups, or something similar. I find it strange as well. I mean, I simply don't get why it can't be Americans. We ought not to impose racial or gender-based labels on individuals, such as requiring white voters to support a certain candidate, or black voters to support a particular candidate. It seems really absurd to me, but please share your opinions and comments. You must vote for this person if you're Asian, this person if you're Hispanic, this person if you're not Hispanic. What do you think about that below?